not here to hurt anybody. I care for her very much. It means a lot to me.
Demi says she was taken advantage of by her drug dealer.
Regardless of what other people may have said or done, my actions put me in the seat that's in front of you today.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Exposing SMG. Today we will be talking about what the internet has been raving about. Demi Lovato's Dancing with the Devil documentary that details her personal struggles, trauma, 2018 OD, and so much more. At the time you're watching this video, 2 episodes have already premiered and they were an emotional roller coaster to say the least. I'm going to be taking you through 5 things that Demi exposes in her documentary, and I'll also be adding some additional details to help you better grasp the entire story. Stay tuned until the end to get my personal thoughts and reaction to the documentary. While Demi did receive an overwhelming amount of support, some people were quick to criticize her and say, she's playing the victim again, or how do we know that Demi's being honest in this documentary as opposed to the last? So I'm going to be talking about all of that and more. Without further ado, here are 5 things that Demi has revealed in the Dancing with the Devil documentary. Number 1. Demi's strained relationship with her birth father, Patrick Lovato, is the root problem for a lot of things. Demi's problems and constant life struggles, whether that has to do with drugs or relationships, have always been troubled, and it all goes back to her relationship with her father. In the first episode of Dancing with the Devil, Demi talks about her father's death and how it's always been a confusing time for her around Father's Day because she doesn't know exactly when he passed away. However, it was a couple of days after Father's Day in June 2013. When he passed away, Demi didn't even take a break to mourn. At the time, she was a judge on X Factor USA and she missed 1 episode, but she also performed on Good Morning America the week he passed away. His death was reported on June 23, 2013, and she performed on June 28. It's so crazy. She said, "We had an estranged relationship, so we weren't close. And growing up, my whole life, I longed for that relationship with him. And then I resented him because he was an addict and an alcoholic, and he was abusive to my mom. And so I cut him out because I felt like it was causing more harm than good having him in my life." I did an in-depth personality analysis on Demi last year on my blog, exposingsmg.com, so I'll link it down below in the description box. I spoke about how her upbringing with both her father and her mother's issues impacted her a lot and was the reason why she's always had a troubling life in all aspects. A lot of what I said was actually confirmed in the documentary, and she even elaborated more about that. At one point throughout the years, Demi said that her father's history with drug addiction made her compelled to do drugs to see what was so good about them that her father left her for them. Her song Father details exactly how she feels about all of that.
You did the best, or did you? Sometimes I think I hate you. I'm sorry, Dad, for feeling this. I can't believe I'm saying it.
She even had a song called Daddy Issues where she details her troubles in her relationships that stem from her estranged relationship with her father. I mean, Nick Jonas, Wilmer Valderrama, I made a whole video about that mess. Number 2. Demi's misery and constant control led to her OD in 2018. Demi recalls her downfall starting around 2017 through 2018 when she was dieting, excessively working out, and being sober. If you want an inside perspective of what was going on, I'll link some articles down below for you to read. But for now, let's keep it cute. One of Demi's best friends, Matthew Scott Montgomery, believes that all the restrictions that her former team put on her totally backfired. He said that the control and the restrictions were way too toxic for her and she was miserable.
I didn't control any of my life at that period of time. But yes, I also needed to grow up and take control.
Last year on Ellen, Demi exposed that her former team, which was mainly led by her manager Phil McIntyre and her sober coach Mike Bayer, controlled her in unhealthy ways and took extreme measures that did more harm than good. Ellen told Demi, "I just learned today that when you came on the show for the last 6 years, the team you're no longer with used to handle everything before you got here. They were told to hide the sugar and put everything away so that when you got to your dressing room, even backstage, there was no sugar anywhere. Did you know that was happening? Demi said that she didn't know what was happening until that day of the interview when she was shocked to find snacks in her dressing room for the first time, despite being on the show several times throughout the years. Demi said, if I was in my hotel room at night, they would take the phone out so that I couldn't call room service. Or if there was fruit in my room, they would take it out because that's extra sugar. Like, we're not talking about brownies and cookies and candies and stuff like that. It's like it was fruit.
Actually, every time I was in a hotel room, my phone was taken out of the room so I couldn't order room service.
Demi even said that she couldn't have a cake for her birthday. She said, for many years, I didn't even have a birthday cake. I had a watermelon cake, where you cut your watermelon into the shape of a cake and then you put fat-free whipped cream on top. And that was the cake. And for years, I did that, and it kind of became this ongoing joke, but I just really wanted a birthday cake. On her new album, she actually has a song called Melon Cake that is reportedly going to talk about that situation. When she signed with Scooter Braun in early 2019, they celebrated her birthday afterward with Ariana Grande, and they got her a real cake that year. She said that it was the best birthday ever. She even said, I just remember crying because I was finally eating cake with a manager that didn't need anything from me and that loved me for who I am and supported my journey. Number 3. The night of her overdose. The night of July 23, 2018, Demi suffered a near-fatal OD. In the documentary, she details what she was doing that led to all of that. We already spoke about how she was miserable while she was sober and the years in which she was supposed to be continuing her treatment in a healthy way. The people she hired to take care of her actually did the opposite. However, Demi doesn't place blame on anyone except herself. She says in the documentary that it was no one else's fault, that she was responsible for everything.
Regardless of what other people may have said or done, my actions put me in the seat that's in front of you today. Unfortunately, nobody can answer for my overdose but me.
She said that no one knew she was doing hardcore drugs the night of the OD, and everyone thought she was going to sleep, but she was actually calling her dealer. Demi exposes that her dealer took advantage of her that night after supplying her with what she believes are counterfeit drugs.
So when you left, she seemed fine. She was just sleeping?
She's sleeping, yeah. I put her under the covers, tucked her in, and...
She said that when she got to the hospital that night, they asked her if she had consensual sex, and at the time, she said yes. But it only hit her like a month later when she realized that she was too high to consent to anything. She then recalls that her dealer left her for dead, and when her team found her the next morning, she was naked. Demi's former assistant, Jordan Jackson, was one of the crucial people who actually saved her life. At one point, Demi was not at all responsive for a very long time, and while everyone was trying to keep it all under wraps, Jordan snuck out of the chaos and called 911. She said that she called them in secret because she was scared that no one wanted her to call them in fear that the media would find out. On the police recording, she asks if they can take the sirens off to avoid any attention, and the operator said, "No ma'am, this is a medical emergency and the sirens must be on." What a lot of people don't know is that many celebrities struggle with addiction and they actually OD in secret. In a lot of cases, a celebrity will have a medical team that will deal with them as opposed to them going to the hospital. In the case of Demi, not many people knew she was doing hard drugs, and so no one really anticipated an OD because Demi has a special talent for keeping things hidden from people around her. Number 4. Demi's team was walking on eggshells around her. Demi has battled a lot of eating issues since she was 8, and before her OD, she employed a team of assistants, a wellness coach, a dietitian, a nutritionist, and therapist to help her. However, her eating issues were so severe to the point where it affected her inner circle, whether that were her friends or her team members. People felt like their lifestyles were triggering to Demi. Demi's former assistant Jordan said that there were times where I had to spend the night because she ate a cookie. Her team even spoke about how her dancers and friends who were around her were constantly worrying if they were triggering Demi. It's like they couldn't drink around her and she could only hang out with sober friends. Obviously, this wasn't a healthy thing to have going on because it's not other people's fault that Demi was struggling, and if Demi was showing progress in her journey, that would indicate that she was on a healthier path in life. We now know that that wasn't the case. However, I do understand how people should alter their life around Demi because at the end of the day, they're working for her, who's a huge celebrity, as opposed to having a regular job. Number 5. The aftermath of the OD. Demi exposed that she suffered 3 strokes and a heart attack. She said that when she woke up legally blind, she couldn't even see her little sister Madison. Her new album has a song on it called I See You, which has a double meaning. She was in the ICU, aka the intensive care unit, and it spells out the phrase I see you, and it's a song that she dedicates to Madison. In the documentary, she says that after the OD, her breaking point was the fact that she couldn't see her little sister, and so she checked into treatment again based on that. Another thing that they spoke about in the documentary was the 27 Club. If you don't know what the 27 Club is, it's basically this list consisting of mostly popular musicians, artists, or actors who die at the age 27. They usually die from the same issues that are often related back to drugs. Some well-known names are Kurt Cobain, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and Amy Winehouse. In the documentary, Matthew says, when Demi turned 28 this past year, this is pretty morbid, but we were like, you made it to 28! Yes, you survived the 27 Club! And Demi even talks about this. She said that she even deals with survivor's guilt because of how close she was to not making it. This is actually something that I spoke about in a blog post about her horrendous engagement to Max Erich. On July 24, 2020, I wrote, "My good sis was also convinced that she was going to become part of the 27 Club." This is something that I've heard for years from reliable sources, and it's something that Demi opened up about in the documentary. So this concludes 5 crazy things that Demi exposed in her documentary. This was only based on episodes 1 and 2, but people who saw episode 3 said that it's actually the craziest and most heartbreaking to date. I'm excited, but kind of nervous. This documentary was met with a lot of positive praise, but there were some skeptics that were like, well, how do we know this is a documentary that she's being truthful in? So if you don't know, Demi has had 2 official documentaries before this one. The first one was called Demi Lovato Staying Strong, and it premiered in 2012. That came out after Demi's first rehab visit. In that documentary, she talks about what led to her rehab, and she opens up about her mental health and the sad reality of addiction. At that point in time, she claimed she was sober. She wasn't, because she relapsed after her first rehab visit. This is something that she admits in Simply Complicated, which is the documentary that premiered in 2017. There she opens up about how her team at the time helps her deal with her issues and all of that. That documentary actually aged badly, considering that the team that she hired to help her was actually harming her. Let me know what you think and if you agree with what I'm about to say, but that doesn't translate to me as she's lying. In 2012, she was still considered a Disney tweener, and her publicists were trying to rebrand her troubled image. It would reflect negatively on her for her to come out and be like, I relapsed, especially at the time where none of her peers were as open as she was. When she was comfortable with sharing that, she later spoke about it in 2017. I watched both episodes from Dancing with the Devil, and Demi never really places blame on anyone but herself. She straight up said that no one knew what I was doing, and this is my responsibility. She even gave her backup dancer, Dani Vital, the platform to clear her name because Lovatics accused Dani of supplying her with drugs or being part of the reason why Demi OD'd, since it started off at Dani's party. Dani is pretty problematic, but that's for another time. Demi was a victim in a lot of situations, but she never really tells what other people put her through. She mainly focuses on how she's the problem. I think Demi has a lot of work to do on herself, and it's something that I see happening. She's delving into therapy, journaling, meditation, learning about chakras, so as long as she stays on this path and doesn't throw herself into another distracting relationship, she should be good.
I feel more joy in my life than I've ever felt because I'm not quieting or diminishing any part of myself.
Let me know what you guys thought about this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and subscribe for more. Let me know what you think about Demi's documentary and if you checked it out. Comment down below what are your thoughts and what do you think about people giving her a little bit of criticism. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at ExposingSMGblog and on Twitter at ExposingSMG. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.